everyone. If you can, do turn on your videos. This will be a very interactive session. So, hello from Mumbai. You're seeing my home office because we're still in lockdown. So, I'd like to share my thoughts on what it is like to grow up as a girl in India and how this feeds into sort of the representation of women in STEM fields. Science is about exploring the unknown. We have to have the confidence to think independently, to trust our instincts, to use one's training, to take a calculated leap. And yet there are elements of Indian tradition that work against encouraging these very qualities in young girls. Only in young girls, not in young boys, unfortunately. And this results in young girls compromising their dreams and aspirations very, very early. Okay, the broad message is that whatever you do in life, this can never come at the cost of your family. Now, young boys never get this message. I mean, the future is equally uncertain for everybody, but we grow up with this message, and this has consequences. So today I'm going to share my personal story, interwoven with the observations and insights. I'll talk for about 15 minutes, and then there will be a lot of time for discussion after that. Okay, so I grew up in Mumbai in India, and I lived here until I got my bachelor's degree. And then I went to Caltech in the US at the age of 21 to get my PhD. My postdoc was at the University of Chicago. And after 10 years in the United States, I returned to India at the age of 31 to set up my lab at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Mumbai, where I currently am. I met my husband in graduate school in Caltech, where he was a graduate student in physics. And we moved to Chicago together and then came to Mumbai together. We have 2 boys. I had them when I was 35 and 38 years old during the early years of my lab starting up. And I've actually blogged about this a little bit. I can paste that in the chat box if people are interested. So I will begin my story by recounting 4 vignettes from my late teens that reveals the sort of mindset which I suspect is not unique to India. What is unusual is that although I grew up in this culture, these experiences were alien to me. And these experiences puzzled me because I didn't grow up like this. And I'd like to sort of tie it together and tell you why. So the first little vignette, small things, okay? This is just part of life. At our school's farewell party, the graduating class of standard 10 students, okay, we leave school after the 10th and then go to junior college. I was chatting with a friend. This friend and I, he and I were in the student government together in the school, leadership positions. We were also in friendly competition for topping the maths class. And after years of this, time came to say bye, and he was appreciative and he said, Shubha, I have something to tell you. Shubha, you're so intelligent and so capable, he said. You should find a boy who has high ambitions to start a good business and then join him and support his career. I was only 15 years old then, but I remember being very puzzled, thinking, why shouldn't I have my own high ambitions? Then, a couple of years later, when I was in junior college, St. Xavier's College, Mumbai, I was interviewed for the Best Student Award for junior college. And on the panel was a senior woman vice president, vice principal of the college, who asked me about my plans to go to medical school. At the time, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. She asked, did I anticipate any problems with being a woman in a difficult profession? And I replied matter-of-factly saying that I didn't anticipate any problems that I wouldn't be able to handle. And I was puzzled with the question. I was as puzzled with the question as she was puzzled with my answer. Because in India, girls are programmed to imbue their dreams with constraints from the very beginning. We're supposed to think of a future where our dreams will be constrained and we'll have to take into account many factors. Boys will also have to take into account many factors, but they don't let those factors constrain their dreams. And this is the kernel of what I want to communicate today. 2 other conversations reveal this, and these were with my best friend in college. At the time, she was sort of contemplating medical school, and she abandoned it for the very clear reason that she said, you know, Shubha, it takes a really long time to finish medical school. And then after that, when would she have kids and how would she bring them up? This was a real concern to her. And then the same friend, some years later, okay, she was intelligent, charismatic, creative, had wonderful leadership skills. Some years later, she began considering appearing for the Indian Civil Service exam. This exam has the possibility that the very elite who clear this exam could join the Indian Foreign Service and become India's ambassadors to foreign nations. She had the talents and skill to do it, certainly, and even the interest. But she abandoned that too, because she talked to a few people and she said, you know, many people have told her that women in the IFS find it very difficult to get married because the job transfers you from one country to the next. And this was a real concern to her. So my best friend, talented and amazing in so many things, was programmed with the goal of finding her husband and choosing a career that is not described as being too demanding to raise a family. Now, there isn't anything wrong with making compromises in life when you come to them, but to not even dream and to constrain what you think you might want to do with all of these, you know, anticipated issues before you even try. These are reflective of what every Indian girl experiences. In fact, maybe some of this even resonates with people in other countries. I'm going to talk about the insidious nature of this programming and how I magically seem to have escaped it. By the time a girl is 12 years old, she receives 2 diversion messages. You should do well in your career, of course, but you have to ensure your family's well-being and harmony. Traditional and cultural issues come into this as well. In India, we have a common practice of the so-called arranged marriage, which there's nothing wrong with. Many of my extended family members have simply met their spouses through a system where mutual introductions are made. Matrimonial columns are filled with descriptions of the kinds of people, you know, people are looking for. And these reveal a very strong element of how the woman has to be, by definition, less than the man in every possible way. Okay, she has to be 2 inches shorter, can't be 2 inches taller. Okay, she has to be perhaps a degree less qualified. An MSc qualified girl is all right for a PhD boy, but never the reverse. She has to be younger. Okay, all of this set up so that eventually, you know, when time comes for the couple to lead their life together, she is naturally at a junior position, at a less paid position, at perhaps a less stable position. And she's going to be the one to make the compromise if they have to decide which city to live in or who will take which job or who will give up a job to take care of the family. She's set up to always be lesser. She is set up to always literally and figuratively look up to her husband. All of this is basically ensures that there is minimal conflict in the family. When there is a conflict, she'll be the one to give in because she is set up that way. This is how our society starts off young women in this very important relationship, not as equal partners in a shared journey, but as a lesser individual who will always compromise in the interests of family harmony, because that's what women are supposed to do. No wonder our girls don't dream. Okay, all of this social programming is creates a situation where from the age of 10, a girl knows that whatever she plans in life, there's going to be compromise. And I've had friends who've told me that let me not dream things that I may never be able to bring about. Let me create the absence of a dream so that I can fit into it whatever dream I am given or I am allowed to have. This is heartbreaking. This is heartbreaking to fit into it whatever dream I will be allowed to have. Deep in a 15-year-old girl's mind is this idea that her life choices are always going to be influenced by other factors, by in-laws, by husbands. Her ambitions are interwoven with concerns about whether she'd be free to pursue what she wants, whether these would be affected by her husband's job, and the lose-lose challenge of whether she'll be a working mother or a good mother. It's always defined as an either or, you can't be both. And then there is this huge social perception that somehow a woman who chooses to remain single is inadequate. Okay, not being married is an indication of inadequacy only for women. Okay, because you couldn't find a husband. A single man, nobody considers them inadequate. And, you know, this is God only help those people who happen to be in the LGBTQ space. I cannot even begin to talk about how our culture utterly ignores, suppresses anything that's outside this so-called norm. So to summarize this portion, it appears that Indian society doesn't really want independent-minded women, okay? We raise our girls to know they have to compromise, to know they'll always be the lesser. And then these traits, okay, independence, the ability to make decisions, the ability to take risks, these are exactly what we need in STEM careers, okay? So we have this, you know, completely opposite situation, and then we struggle with why there are few women in STEM fields. And then we create funding schemes, and then we create career reentry programs, and we have women-centric mentorship sessions. All of these are absolutely critical, okay? They are absolutely critical and necessary. But we've created the problem in the first place, okay? We need to change the programming of our 10 to 12-year-olds if we really want to get to the root of the problem. So now, my last segment, okay? How did I escape this? I'm going to talk about my amazing parents, my mother who raised me to be free, and my father who believed I could do anything I wished to. My father gave me nothing but unstinted support and appreciation for every small thing I did. I'm going to talk about my mother at some length. My mom was the 7th of 8 siblings. She lost her parents when she was a teenager, and she grew up in hard times. In fact, she and her youngest sister basically decided they would help partner each other. One would work and support the other while the other studied, and then they would switch off. So that's how they both got themselves educated and supported. My mother trained as an occupational therapist, and she worked at a cancer hospital in Mumbai. And from this job, she took a 7-year break to raise me and my brother, because that's just how it was at the time. My mom is no more. My father is 84 years old and continues to support and relish everything that I come to him with. Anything I'm excited about, he's twice as excited about. My mom filled our childhood with amazing things. She choreographed dances for us. She wrote entire dramas. She made props. So we learned carpentry. My brother and me learned carpentry. We have made donkeys and trees and clouds and waves, all as part of our summer activities to have dances and dramas and so on at our campus or our school functions. She taught both of us how to cook. She taught both of us how to sew. We can both use sewing machines. And in fact, when I started college, my brother gifted me a college bag that he himself had made on the sewing machine. But perhaps what demonstrates the baseline of equality in my childhood was my mom's approach to worship, I'm an atheist. I think I perhaps always was, but it was wonderful to grow up with stories of Hindu mythology. Our mythology is filled with many, many gods who have different personalities and characters and traits. Some are male, some are female, some are even mixed gender gods. They quarrel, they get into trouble, they get sent down to earth to experience life as humans. So it seemed to me that all of these stories were a way of teaching children right from wrong, and how to live and how to be and how to help people and so on. So a monthly ritual in our home was a puja, a Satyanarayan puja, in which we worshipped a particular form of the Lord. And in this puja, the Lord is invited to embody an idol, which one worships as the embodiment of the god. And this idol is set up in a beautiful setting that represents creation. There is a coconut set atop mango leaves, set atop a pot that's 3/4 filled with water to represent all of creation. The oceans in the pot, the flora and the fauna and life. And into this setting, God is invited to be a revered guest in the home. The guest is offered hospitality, right from the practical water to wash tired, aching feet, a special meal. Hymns are sung in praise of the Lord. So it's a wonderful family act of worship. Now, these rituals are traditionally performed by the head of the family. Either the head of the family, the man, or his son. And these rituals are instructed by a learned priest, who is, of course, by default male. Well, not in my family. My mom decided that she's learned. She can actually read Sanskrit. She could read Sanskrit, in which all of the puja descriptions are written. So she instructed the puja as the priest. She played the role of the priest, and she translated it all into Marathi, which is my native language, so that we could understand. And as for performing it, she created 2 identical settings, 2 identical coconut mango leaf pot things, 2 idols, 2 of everything. My brother and I would help assemble it, and we would perform 2 pujas side by side each month. We would jostle only over who got to the oil lamp first to heat a teaspoon of water symbolically to offer the revered guest, God, warm water. In all the years that we performed these pujas, it never occurred to me that it wasn't my right to do so. That all across India, girls stood by, having provided support and help to assemble the puja, while their brothers or fathers or uncles actually got to have all the fun. This was such a simple yet powerful platform my mother set up, that her 2 children would have equal opportunities in everything. And then, to wrap it up, this explains why I went through life increasingly puzzled when someone asked me to find a boy and follow his ambitions, or whether someone was concerned whether I would face problems as a woman professional down the road, or when a friend compromised her fledgling dreams of going to medical school or becoming an Indian ambassador before they were even formed. My childhood, I realize, was special because I had equality and equal opportunity created by my parents. I was the one living on an alien planet. And that's why I never had to pull back on my dreams. And that's why I felt free to follow my path. My story then, I hope, is a contribution to young girls growing up in India, around the world, and a call to parents. Let's raise our children with the freedom to dream. So that's my story. Thank you very much for coming. I'll be happy to discuss. You can just unmute yourselves and we can chat. Yeah, please go ahead. Isabel?
Yeah, thank you very much for this very interesting, insight in your culture and in your story. I think that is very inspiring. Well, I didn't personally grow up in this kind of setting. Both my parents are in the scientific field, and I'm in a European country where culturally we're not really bounded, at least not explicitly bounded as women. However, there is also very few female in research, even in neuroscience, which I think compared to, I don't know, physics, for example, is more inhabited, is more populated with women in science. And so, yeah, there are still implicit boundaries set to girls at a very young age, where they imagine that science just is not made for them. And yes, that's also something that I think we still have to work on.
See, so amazingly and unfortunately not that different. The details are different, but it's actually the same story, huh?
Yes, precisely. So it's not saying explicitly, no, you're a girl, you shouldn't do science. However, but there are still, even in high school, for example, I've had professors, teachers saying, oh, you know, you're good at science, so you should go for like nursing or something like that, which in fact is not really what I would want, you know?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I was wondering whether some of you had maybe the same experience that she was describing. I think it's very country specific in terms of culture as well, but I think the type of culture where women are considered not as important, let's say, or women's expectation are considered less important is also present in many other countries. So can any of you relate to that?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what Isabel was saying. I mean, I live in Spain, right? So it's true that we don't have such a pressure, let's say, as women, but at the same time, it's true that the people that we have, like women in science, are fewer in number compared to men. And also something that I have experienced in the latest years is that I feel more and more insecure, while maybe my male colleagues feel more and more secure. So when I was in high school, for instance, I was like, okay, no, I'm good in science. I'm gonna go for this because this is what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. And like, I've been doing that, right? But recently I feel more insecure compared to my male colleagues. And I'm like really sad because I don't want any of these being affecting me, but at the same time, kind of it's there, right? And then you have in the background this pressure of you have to raise a family, you have to do all this stuff, which is also what the speaker, like the professor, was commenting. So I can totally relate to that. I don't know if it's the same case for you guys or.
Yeah, I think it's also similar for me. I mean, I'm still very early in my career path, but even there are some questions. We had this discussion once at the lab where other female colleagues were saying, yeah, you know, we at this moment, it's where I have the impression where you have to ask yourself the question whether you want to build a family and yeah, find a husband and build a family, have kids, or is it where you want to focus on your career and maybe give up on that? And I feel like for women, and it's not a question that we ask men, although men in science also have families, it's a question we only ask women for whatever reason.
So sorry, my computer just crashed at the very, yeah.
Shubha, we were relating to what you were saying in the fact that even though we come from different cultures, we kind of have this feeling that you know, that insecurity also as a woman and imposter syndrome is very important because you have that pressure of also having a family. Do you want kids? And all of this is influencing your career choices. And I was interested to know what makes it, because Ines, you were saying that you're actually becoming more and more insecure. And so what are the factors that are pushing you to feel this?
I think, well, yeah, what I was saying before is that in high school, I was like more like, I want to do science, I'm going to go for this and that's it, right? But like, ironically, what I've been feeling lately is that I can feel this social pressure more and more, because like lately I can feel the pressure of, okay, but you know, I have to start thinking about a family, maybe like not now, but maybe in 5 years or in 7 years. So let's try to, you know, or like, oh yeah, but this male colleague speaks better than me, so maybe it's better if he goes and speak. And I have to be the one like pushing myself, like, no, come on. Where all these insecurities are coming from, you're good at speaking in public, go for it, you know? But kind of my natural tendency is giving one step back, you know? When I was never like this, you know?
Yeah, this is programmed, no? Because we were never like this before, and then somehow it becomes something we have to fight. You know, so it's sort of thought the case that men overrepresent themselves and women represent themselves. So it's a sort of internal trait that we all struggle with. We all struggle with. I mean, you know, even I today, when I'm called upon to be on some panel, I think, oh God, really? You know, what have I got to offer?
That's amazing. And that's why I also really like your talk, because sometimes I miss a bit of optimism, and it's like, no, come on, if we create nice niche and we like find this, or we kind of locate this as a problem, in a common problem, and we find support also in other women, because we are all at the end of the day suffer from the same things, right? Maybe that's a way to continue, because it would be really sad to like give up on a career that I have been like dreaming of for ages.
No, absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. So, you know, I actually, so when I get invited to do a science talk anywhere in, you know, seminar in India, I always offer a Women in Science second workshop, always. Okay, and I title it, What It Is Like to Be a Woman in Science, a session for men and women.
Perfect.
And I must say, you know, exciting though I think my science is, I think the second talk has more direct impact. And people come afterwards and they talk about things. So one of the things I say there is that, you know, being pregnant and having children is not a flaw in a woman, right, who's working, but not knowing how to support her in that period is actually a flaw on the part of the mentor. Because, you know, there is just one determinant of what will make a good scientist, just one determinant, okay? The will to do. If somebody wills to do, they will do. I mean, I've had, you know, postdocs who've had babies who will, after the baby sleeps, and, you know, they'll employ somebody to come and sleep in the house, and then they will go and image in the confocal the whole night because the confocal is free at night. People who want to do, do. And people who don't have that inner fire, you don't have that inner fire, you know, you may have all the luxuries in the world, but you will not produce that exciting. It's that spark that has to be nurtured, no matter in whom you find it. If that person happens to have a child, they have a child. If they have 20 children, they have 20 children. You know, the spark is what has to be nurtured. And not recognizing this is, I think, the flaw in the mentors. So if you turn it around, you will actually, you know, see that you're the better person for wanting to do.
I don't know if you can hear to me now.
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Aisha Morales from the Cajal Institute in Madrid, in Spain. So I'm 51 years old. I have 3 kids. I am PI of a small group working on developmental neurobiology. So I have been through many phases in my life where I consider my role as a women scientist. So one of the things that I would like to mention, according to what you have mentioned before, is my feeling is that in Europe, as somebody was saying, we don't have that obvious rules or even customs that impede women to get their dreams, or to get to be a PI in the scientist world. I mean, but that's only like formally there are not these situations, but at many different levels we find that there are difficulties in us to get to the same point as our male colleagues. First, I think that we need better models. I mean, models, female models that from the very beginning, from when we are little girls, to feel like, okay, that's Nobel Prize was a woman, that doctor that discovered the COVID vaccine was a female. I mean, we need to be invoking female figures all the time, because girls need to put a face to those dreams, to those big hits. So that's, for me, it's very important. But as well, obviously, as you were mentioning, Shubha, it's up to us, the mother and the father, to bring out our kids right in the same level, and tell them that their dreams, even when they are female or males, they are exactly the same, and they have to fight for them, and they receive the same opportunities, that they are immersed in the same experiences. I mean, playing basketball, doing a STEM course on summer. I mean, no matter who you are, you have to be exposed to all the possibilities, because when you are a kid, you don't know what you like, you don't know what you want to become or anything. You just need the experience to be exposed to everything, so that at some point a click will be will spark in your mind, and you say, okay, that's what I really want to do. I mean, I love it. But you have to be exposed first to all those experiences. And then later on, what I think is very important, we need really a lot of support from a female, for female, to feel like if you take the decision of having a kid, you are going to have some extra support. I mean, maybe by the time you are pregnant or the first year after giving birth, you are going to have a technician, an extra PhD student, extra work, I mean, extra hands to support your work. And this has to be acknowledged. It's not the same as being a father, that maybe, okay, you are going to be short of sleep for a few months or whatever. But if you are the mother, you have to recover from the pregnancy, from the delivery, from all the after things. And by that time, you need extra support. And I think that many institutions should really acknowledge that and give extra support in the form of technician, extra PhD student or whatever, so that you can continue with your work. Because in science, you cannot just say, okay, I quit for 3 years and then I go back. No, you cannot do that. But during that time, you need extra help.
So, I mean, that's actually a very, it's a perfect point to provide a tech support or something. So actually, so I've had 3 postdocs who've had babies. And for each of them, I hired a technician to support them right from when they told me they were pregnant. And the person stayed with them for a good 2-3 years. So that, you know, they don't feel they can come in early in the morning, the work starts, and they know they have somebody to move the work along. And this has proved to be so useful that I actually suggested it in an India-wide committee that I was on. And at least one funding agency has now allowed postdoctoral fellows to hire a technician on their grant money, sort of just to help them in this period. So absolutely. Please continue.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that I think is very important that Ines pointed out is, I don't know where is the root of the problem. It is just because of our education, several generations of education, not only ours, but our mothers, our grandmother, that we feel like more insecure. I mean, with taking these decisions. I mean, I don't think that it's general. I mean, I'm sure that there are people like you, Shubha, that you seems to be very strong, committed to everything. But many of us, in some period of our time, we have feel this situation of maybe I'm being too selfish, just thinking of my own career. I should put a balance on me giving,
we've all been
a mother. And I think that males in general, they have less of this. Say, no, I will do everything. I can do it. I can cope with that. And also the way they sell themselves. I think that there's a lot of psychological components in the way females behave in science in comparison to male, in sense of, if I am a male and I have made some discoveries that are important, but maybe they are not Nobel Prize discovery, I am going to sell them as they are really the top. I am going to break it. I'm going to be the best. And we women, females, are always more like, sort of more humble, more modest, like say, okay, yeah, it's important, but we need to work harder on this. We are still need more experiments to be sure about this, because yeah, it's important, but yeah, you have to be careful. And this is not the male attitude. So I'm not saying that we all should become males, because maybe there's a lot of things that are not right on that discussion of that pose. But since now it's a very male driven world, maybe we should convince females to be a little bit more more I don't know, proud of themselves, or more self convinced of what they are doing, and also as well
both, right?
Yeah, you really
we have to raise our boys and girls differently, right? Because
yeah,
a little bit. So in the personal space, you find your partner the way you've been programmed to look for a partner. So if you eventually want an equal partner who will be your, equal friend and hold hands and run through all the challenges together, then you look for that kind of a person. If you have been insidiously programmed to model the more traditional relationships, that's the kind of person you look for, and then you have to live out the consequences of that.
Yeah. I wanted to say something related to what Aisha said. So a couple of thoughts. First one related to how we feel like more insecure and more anxious. I once saw this TED talk that I'm sharing now in the chat, which I found really interesting, because basically it talks about how we teach male kids to be brave and how we teach female kids to be perfect. And that's why I feel we are so anxious. Because the thing is that, at least in my experience and in the experience of my female colleagues, it's like either you have a perfect result or you're going to be doubting a lot, right? And you never get a perfect result. So that's why we are always insecure about what we do. While with men, it's more like this idea of you go for it. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. The important thing is try and go for it, go for it. And that's why they experience less insecurities, I feel, right?
But it may also be stressful to be a man. Think about it. You're raised to succeed. Success is everything. You have to always appear confident. You can't ever show your emotions. It must be very difficult. I mean, you feel emotional and God forbid a tear escapes your eye, you're dismissed. I mean, I'm sure it's really stressful for the other side. Just right now, it's a male-dominated world. So we are sort of choosing not to care about that. But it can't be healthy. It can't be.
I absolutely agree. I was just saying this because of the differences between insecurities among men and women. And I feel it's really related to how we are taught to be feeling regarding to our own mistakes. And I think that we are taught to be more insecure and doubtful, while men are more well, it doesn't matter. It was a small mistake. You continue, right? Which also puts a lot of pressure on them. Sorry?
The perfectionism, the perfectionism comes from there, right? I will be criticized for everything, so I had better be perfect so nobody criticizes me.
Exactly. And then there was a second thought I wanted to share regarding to what Aisha had said, but I had forgotten. So I'm going to shut up.
You can come back. We have time.
Yeah,
I have a suggestion. If anybody's on Twitter, can they post their handles? I would like to follow all of you.
Oh, perfect. We can create a supporting network.
Yeah, why not? So
I will write mine.
I think I'm already following you, Shubha.
Okay, well, I'll find you there if you can post it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I remember what I wanted to say. It was related to what Aisha said regarding how we sell ourselves as women compared to men, and how we have to learn from the other side, let's say, right? There's this writer in Spain that I love. She's called Rosa Montero. And she has this article in which she said how for her it's really funny to see female authors talking about her books, because they are all the time talking about, yeah, I wrote this kind of a small novel, nothing big, And she said that she never hear a male saying that she wrote a small novel, because it's always and I think that that's something we should learn, because it's yeah, you wrote a novel. That's something to be proud of. Come on, it's really good, And of course, in science, we always have to have this humble, attitude. But at the same time, it's well, you did an experiment, you have these results. Of course, you have to tell your limitations, but at the same time, come on, it's a good job. Go for it, right? And I can observe this all the time in women, that we are all the time yeah, well, I'm the IP of this small group. And it's like, come on, you're an IP. This is amazing.
It feels like you're acting in a play, right? To say it like this, saying, you know, I'm the king of the world. It feels like you're acting. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, so I agree that there's a lot of work to do, and we have to play all those keys to really make a change, and it will take years. But it's good that I have seen a lot of changes in the last 10 years or so, that there are this type of conversations in the big meetings.
How old are your children, Aisha?
So they are 16 and twins of 14.
Oh, okay. Okay. Mine are 14 and 18.
Okay. So the same adolescence matters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyone else have anything to say? Or if you can come on video and say hi to us. So Isabel, I lost you when my connection dropped. I was asking you, you know, here you are, you know, how did you overcome all the issues you were talking about?
Well, I think I'm not overcoming everything, as I said, probably maybe when your connection was out, that I'm just beginning my career in science. So yeah, I'm just finishing my master's and starting my PhD now. So
more power to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, how I handled mostly high school was like just ignoring what the professors were saying that were not what I wanted, you know. If I didn't want to hear it, I just didn't listen to it and went for whatever I wanted. And yeah, I also have a lot of male friends actually, and I was mostly looking up on what they were doing and take an example regardless of their sex or gender. And I think this is also very important, in fact, that you can take a role model, even somebody who's not necessarily of your sex. And I think it's important if you don't have enough like female role models.
Mm-hmm. And you know, a role model does not have to be an old Nobel laureate either. You can have
exactly.
friends. You know, sometimes somebody much younger than you will say something that will just go in your head. Yeah, I'll give you an example of my niece who said this when she was 7 years old. Okay, now she's grown up, but when she was 7, some older person was basically telling her what to do. You know, you must wear this, it's, you know, not nice, we have to go out, you have to be this, you have to do that. And she turns around and says, I was not put upon this earth to follow your wishes.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
I think that will stick with me now as well.
I actually use it when I talk to school children. I translate this into Hindi and Marathi. There's a second, there's, you know, the sky is much farther beyond, kind of. So I actually translate it into many languages and I make all the kids say it, saying, you know, internalize this, you know. Okay, it's been really nice to meet all of you. I wish we could meet in person, but hey, this is almost as real.